After further review, a Clemson student's perspective on sports.
It's AFR time, baby. Let's get up. Let's get rolling.
That's right. Personal foul. 69. Offense. He was giving them the business. He played it down.
Okay, so if Trevor Lawrence isn't either the second or third string quarterback in the fall, I shave my head and you get a tattoo?
Well, you got to get a head tattoo. You got to shave your...
Get a head tattoo. Now we're talking.
And get a head tattoo.
And a personal foul on number 99 of the defense. After he tackled the quarterback, he's giving them business down there. That's a 15-yard penalty.
And now your host, Jay, Bradley, and Evan.
Well, good morning. AFR is on the radio. Thanks for spending another Saturday morning with us. Another hour of your favorite college football show. After further review, Jay Smith alongside Bradley Kendall. Unfortunately, Evan couldn't be with us this morning. He had prior commitments. The Tour Guide Association on campus keeping him busy. He's got to sell the university to a bunch of eager incoming freshmen. So it's just Bradley and myself.
Can confirm he is there because I did see him walking around.
Yep, we saw him walking around a little bit earlier, but Bradley, we'll go ahead and dive right into it after further review.
After further review, the bear has left the den. Like I said before, Evan's not here. I can confirm he is giving out tours. He's not just lying to us, trying to get out of come seeing us for this hour this morning. But lots of college football to get to this morning, starting with a little article that we saw earlier this week about ESPN's playoff predictions this year. You know how much we disagree with the ESPN's rankings week in and week out. But this one really particularly struck me, the rankings that I saw them come out with, especially a school up in South Bend, Indiana, that was ranked particularly high, according to both of us.
Giving Notre Dame a lot of credit. Yeah, these came out, like I said, a little bit earlier this week, and I guess one of the surprising things was that Clemson it was the consensus team to, not only make the college football playoff, but also win the national championship. And I think, we sometimes sit here and banter about the SEC bias and how Alabama's always the favorite, but in this particular instance, they went with Clemson.
Yeah, which I think is the smart pick. And you got to understand, it's not just the team aspect here. It's basically focusing on the conference. I think that played a big factor in the decision here.
Less of a challenging road for Clemson to get to a conference championship than Alabama.
Not only interdivision, but in the division next to them, over in the Coastal. Yeah, I mean, you look at Alabama, they got Georgia right next door, which is why you look at the playoff percentage chance, and you got 47 and 46% chance for the Tide and the Dogs. But Clemson at 67% chance. But as I was saying before, I think Notre Dame, the one that really struck me, 42% chance to make the playoff this year. Now, I don't know if anyone's seen Notre Dame's schedule this year, but it's not exactly a walk in the park. You got Michigan week 1. We went at Wake Forest. You got Stanford, at Virginia Tech, at Navy.
Pitt, don't forget about Pitt.
Pittsburgh, at Northwestern.
Florida State.
And
then USC on the road.
At USC. Tell me where, besides the bye week, they're getting a breather this year.
I mean, I think that, and I know you're not a huge fan of Michigan, so let's just say they get through that game. They're going to cruise until they got to either Stanford or Virginia Tech. Let's say they drop one of those games. At that point, they're sitting 5-1. Maybe they get through Pitt. Maybe they get through Navy. I think there's a chance for them to go 9-3, 10-2. I think the percentage of them getting into the playoff is a bit generous.
That's very generous. I mean, with what you have not only coming back, but leaving is what, is most striking to me is you got not only, Josh Adams leaving, their star running back from last year, but you got both first-round offensive linemen that were picked and the defensive coordinator both gone.
And I just think Washington has more talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're right below Notre Dame. They're at 41% to make the playoff, 11% to make the championship. And even a team like Ohio State, Oklahoma, Auburn, Penn State, as you go down the list, I feel like those teams just have a bit more depth to them than Notre Dame. It must just be, in this particular scenario, because Notre Dame is a independent,
which
not in a conference.
I mean, yes, you can say that does impact the statistics and how the rankings then, line themselves out. But you got to understand here, Notre Dame basically has to go 11-1 or 12-0 because they don't have the opportunity to win that conference championship later. So it's give or take both. There's pros and cons to it. I just don't see after a 10-3 season last year.
Well, you look at and
what they lost.
Like you mentioned at the top of the segment, look at their schedule. Okay, Michigan, a team they got to play week 1. That's on this list. They're at 8% to make the playoff. They play Stanford. That's 2 down. They're at 6% to make the playoff. USC, they're on this list. They have a 2%. I mean, and then Florida State further down. That's 4 teams right there. There may be more, and I'm just not seeing them. I think, just 4, because Virginia Tech's not on this list. right there that are in the top 20 to make the playoff.
And let's not act like that Brandon Wimbush is, your reigning Heisman Trophy winner here. He had 49% of his passes completed last year, starting for Notre Dame. Now, he doesn't have to be that Heisman level, but he's at least got to be better than that if you're going to carry the load of what you've lost from last year. So, yeah, I don't see where that statistics come into play there where Notre Dame is getting that much love. And they get broken down. I believe, Jay, we talked about this, how ESPN does their rankings. And I know you had the list of some of the criteria that they have on there.
Yeah, I mean, they in this particular breakdown, they looked at different things. They looked at strength of record, which is, in their words, how much teams have accomplished.
I know how much you love that statistic.
That, to me, is one of the most vague things I've ever read because it's very subjective. And and I understand, although the next point is really almost even more vague because that's FPI, how good teams are. How good. I mean, what
terrible use of adjectives.
What is
a terrible description. Yeah, what's funny is they also factor in the strength of record when it says how much teams have accomplished when teams haven't accomplished anything yet. So, how does that even impact this at all?
Yeah.
And if you take away those two, you're at number of losses, which doesn't factor in conference championships.
Well, and then the committee places, I think, more emphasis on the losses than the wins.
They have in the past, yeah.
My question is, and maybe we are, and I'm just not aware, but why are we not looking at combined record of teams' opponents or a conference's non-conference record and then those opponents' record? Why are we not examining that more than how good they are?
Strength of schedule. I love that statistic. I know you're not a big fan of it, but, I mean, it really does when you have two teams from opposite conferences and you're trying to judge which is better, or in this case, a team that's not even in a conference. Look how their schedule matches up with the average schedule across the country. I think that's a very fair way to...
Yes, I would agree. I think the best indicator of gauging a conference's pecking order is looking at their record in non-conference games.
Well, in Notre Dame's case, everything's a non-conference game.
Right. Yes. This conversation is exclusively for teams in a conference.
Exactly, yeah.
In a conference. Look at the Pac-12 last year and how they did in bowl games. That would indicate they weren't up to par with the other conferences they were playing in bowl games.
I did see this week that I think somebody on CBS Sports did a breakdown of the number of non-conference true road games that each team has played in the Power 5 since 2011. The SEC, out of the top 13 teams, in terms of how many, the least number of games, had 8 teams up there. Wow. Alabama, Auburn, LSU, all those teams don't exactly go out and play non-conference games on the road, which you could say nowadays with the whole playoff situation where they only play neutral site games, may be the okay thing to do. Saban's been doing that a lot recently, but that goes to show the SEC is depending a lot on their interconference play.
And it's been okay for them in the past. It really hasn't been to their detriment.
They won 7 straight titles, so I'd say that's pretty okay.
It's been okay for them. I think one of the most interesting things, and I know I did just kind of crap on the strength of record a minute ago, but 15 of the 16 playoff teams in the last 4 years have ranked in the top 4 of strength of record on Selection Day.
Yeah, so ESPN, I guess, has some accuracy with their predictions there. And, a couple years ago, the preseason polls, you even had 4 of the top 5 teams, I believe the first year of the playoff, were in the preseason top 5. So that could also play a factor. And I know me and Evan, we both noticed this week that Sports Illustrated had the exact same top 4 that we did, which you could say is probably bad luck and probably a sign that we need to change our picks, with the Sports Illustrated curse in the past.
I think all of our picks, and some of us went a safer route, and some, like Clemson, Alabama in the championship game, I think is a safer pick than saying like Clemson, Georgia. I mean, I haven't seen anybody pick teams like Washington or West Virginia to make the national championship, but I think based off of what I've seen, there are people out there having conversations about those teams, maybe even Wisconsin making some noise, maybe Ohio State. We'll just have to see how that all plays out, making a run and causing a little bit of a stir in the playoff. But I think right now the safest pick for a college football spot is Clemson.
And I'd even argue outside of that, I mean, you could argue the Alabama and Georgia, but you got to factor in the fact that those two teams have to play each other.
Yep.
One of the safest picks you can pick right now outside of Washington is probably Wisconsin. And they're super low on this list right now.
Yeah, I feel like Washington has a better chance. I think they're going to breeze through the Pac-12. I think, like we've talked about extensively the last couple of weeks, the Auburn game, start of the season, is crucial. It is crucial because I think even if they blaze through their Pac-12 schedule, Bradley, if they don't win that Auburn game, they're not in control of their own destiny.
They're not at all. No, if they don't get through that game, they basically have the weight of the world on their shoulders and have to win every single game of the Pac-12 just to even be in consideration at that point. Because, I mean, think about it. If this year we've got 2 teams in the Big Ten, 2 teams in the SEC, you factor in maybe a Notre Dame, you got Washington there sitting with 1 blowout loss to Auburn on the road, that Pac-12 championship doesn't look as good, especially after last season.
No.
So
another interesting point on this list, Michigan State, the Spartans, are just one peg above Wisconsin. They're at 15%, and Wisconsin was at 11. So they're giving
one peg below Penn State.
Yeah, so you've got Ohio State taking the crown for the Big Ten on this list. Then you've got Penn State, Michigan State, Wisconsin.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's a ton of great teams in the Big Ten, and that probably plays a big factor in how the percentages work their way out. I think if you actually did a poll, and I know my dad and I talked about this in the car on the way up here, I think if you actually took a poll of 100 people and asked all of them who they have winning the national championship game, I bet you more than 25% have Clemson winning the whole thing. So it's a bit of a subjective.
It's a safe pick.
It's a bit of a subjective list here. It's all just a bunch of numbers thrown into one computer. So
I can get behind the numbers and the stats, but when you talk to me about how good a team is, you kind of lose me. I'm just like, well,
you know what that is? That's that's watching the games. That's what the committee should be doing.
And head to head in non-conference settings is so important.
Yeah, and then I also thought it was interesting that Oklahoma State was ahead of a team like Oregon or Florida State at the very bottom after how much they lost last year. Now they are tied at less than 1% chance to win the entire thing, which seems a little low for a team like USC or Texas.
There's so many good teams in other conferences. You've got an Alabama, you've got Georgia, you've got Clemson in the ACC, you've got the Big Ten. We've already talked about Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, Wisconsin. You've got Washington in the Pac-12. So I agree with your point there that Oklahoma State's not getting a lot of love, but look at the other teams that are ahead of them.
Yeah, and talking about Oklahoma State here with the Big 12, you only see one other team on that list from that entire conference, which is Oklahoma. And, with what we've seen recently with Kyler Murray, might be the starter, might not. We don't know what we're going to get.
It's very telling that they put an independent in Notre Dame above any Big 12 team.
I think that's very weird. Yeah, I mean,
even
you think you'd at least keep the Power 5 ahead of them. It's not like I said, it's not like Notre Dame won the championship last year and it's coming back.
No, and I mean, again, because their entire schedule is independent, non-conference, they're probably going to be less. I mean, they have. I'm trying to think of how to word this. They're not going to be in control of their own destiny if they lose one or more game. Like it's going to be up in the air, and a lot of things are going to have to happen for them to get a spot.
Oh, a lot of things are going to have to fall their way, and they're going to have to get real lucky in a lot of these games because they have one blowout loss. We saw how much the committee got on them last year for that blowout loss to USC's blowout loss to Notre Dame. Basically took them out of the contention at that point.
Yep.
One of the interesting things I thought I saw was that also on that ESPN article, they listed out their most overrated teams to start the year in that preseason poll. And the two they came up with were Auburn and Virginia Tech. Now, I've heard a lot about Auburn. You got the Camp Petway, Kerryon Johnson losses from last year. But, I mean, Virginia Tech, you return Bud Foster, his great defense. Josh Jackson, returns now as their quarterback. So I don't see why Virginia Tech's getting knocked so much.
I don't know if I understand that either. But I think that, there's a lot that hangs in the balance. I mean, Virginia Tech can either have a great year, or if they lose a couple close games, they could have a really bad year.
And one of those games happens to be in Notre Dame.
Yeah, so maybe that's where that's coming from. I'm not really sure. I did think another point I want to make that was interesting to me is even though Clemson is the consensus team right now to make the playoff and possibly play and win the national championship, when you look at the conference breakdown, the SEC has an 87% chance of getting at least one team in. The ACC's down there at 73%. I think everyone in that 73%
pick Clemson. Maybe one Miami
Clemson.
homer in there. And then whoever that guy that picked UNC to win the Coastal might be throwing his vote in there too.
But the Big Ten is at 75%.
Yeah.
And the Pac-12 is down below 50 at 49%.
But the Big 12's in trouble.
Yeah, well.
Less than 1% chance to have at least two teams in, and that's versus the SEC, who's got a 26%.
Well, I don't think. I mean, they're
not going to get two teams in.
The only team that would have, or the only conference that have two teams in would be the SEC. It'd be Georgia and Alabama.
But a 29% chance to make the playoff, that's very low for a Power 5 team. I mean,
yeah.
Even the Pac-12's got 49, and we saw how much people hated on them last year. I mean, most of that are probably Washington picks, but yeah, I mean, you got to think not a lot of people outside of who's in this room right now are giving a lot of love to West Virginia or TCU or any other team but Oklahoma right now.
It's just, I mean, again, like talking about which conferences or how the conferences stack up. For me, week one, non-conference games, a lot's determined right there. If Washington goes down or goes to the neutral location, plays Auburn, and whips their tails, that's a good opening statement if you're the Pac-12. It's great.
It defines the whole conference this season, I think, at this point. And we'll get into it a little bit later in another segment. But yeah, I think that game, that might be the most important game the Pac-12 has had since maybe the USC championship back in 2005. I mean, it's going back that far. They have not had this big of a non-conference game.
There's not as much on the line because there's still a whole season to play. I mean, we could watch Washington implode.
In terms of reputation here. If you go into Atlanta and take down Auburn week 1,
based off of their bowl record last year,
big message. And this is the team that they want to do it. This is the team that they trust the most to be able to.
This is the team that can do it.
Play that exactly.
This
probably the only team.
There's no other team in the Pac-12 right now. I don't think that's going to be able to do that in basically a road environment in Atlanta. But yeah, no, that's a good comparison. Going back to the USC game against Texas, but
as we saw, Auburn was rated one of the most overrated teams to begin the season. So if Jared Stidham comes out slow,
well, hey, they may be considered overrated, but they're still going to give Alabama a tough time, and Alabama still has to contend with them in the Iron Bowl. It's going to be a good game, and then Alabama's going to have to deal with maybe Georgia in the SEC championship game.
Maybe. I think that's pretty set in stone who they're dealing with in that, that championship game.
I hate to sit here and make predictions and call which teams are going to be in the conference championships because, just watch how wrong you are once you get later in the year. I mean, all the predictions that we're making right now.
We saw on Twitter, our championship tweet surfaced, did pretty well. And we saw a bunch of comments saying, y'all got to realize it's beginning of August. What are you doing predicting championships right now?
Again, though, and it honestly brings up another interesting conversation about Clemson being considered a serious title contender and not only getting the respect of, having a good football, not Clemsoning anymore. I know Clemson fans hate to hear that term, but that's kind of...
If you lose this year, though, that term will definitely resurface. I can tell you that.
It could, but there's going to be no validity to it because you look at what Dabo's done last 5-6 years and the consistency and Clemson able to yes, you have games like the Pitt game, even though I think Pitt was pretty good. I mean, Clemson wasn't the only team that struggled against them. Or the Syracuse game. That was a bit of a fluke. So there are some inexplicable losses that Clemson's had, even while we're having great success. But Clemson has still, in those years, been able to make a conference championship, win it, make the college football playoff, sometimes advance to the championship game, win the championship game. So they're still able to, get to that elite level, even if they have one game a year where they're just kind of...
And you said it before, 7 straight years now, Clemson has done better than their preseason ranking.
I believe so. I believe that's correct.
And the last time we were ranked second, how we finished that season. If we did better, that means we won the championship.
Yeah, we still have that opportunity. I believe that's correct. It would be 8 straight years that Clemson would start the season and then finish the season higher than where they were ranked at the beginning.
Do you think this is the most pressure a team has had on them, maybe not only in the ACC, but around the country in a while, to make a Final Four or championship game? Because I don't hear anyone else talking about the rest of the ACC.
There's a lot of noise there for sure. The media is a buzz about it. And I think that having the D-line come back, having such standout guys at quarterback and Kelly Bryant, Trevor Lawrence probably fuels that. It's tough to say.
It feels like the safest pick in a long time.
It's really tough to say.
To make a playoff.
Yeah, it's tough to say if there's pressure felt inside the program. As fans, we probably feel that pressure, honestly, more than players and coaches because the coaches are shielding the players from all that scrutiny.
Yeah.
I think, was it 2 weeks ago, the players signed off of social media?
We went down, straight. Straight off the radar.
Yeah, I think it's the 4th or 5th year that they've done that, which I think is probably a smart move during the season. But yeah, that's an interesting question. There's probably pressure felt from fans and media, especially in this area. But do you feel like that if we didn't make the playoff, it would be a disappointment?
Absolutely. If we don't make the playoffs,
so then
there
is pressure.
This is the most pressure Clemson has on them in the last 3 years, you could say. Going back to our first year, we were ranked 12th.
Yeah, 2015, 2016, we were playing loose.
Even last year, we were picked 3rd in our division, and we were the 5th best team to start the season in the preseason polls. So the target has never been on our back more than it is this year. And I think Georgia's feeling that same effect too after a championship run is, go to the championship, immediately after that, everyone expects you're going back to the playoff. And it might not happen. 10-2 might be a pretty good year for Georgia, but I think the fans expect nothing but perfection.
Yeah, Kirby Smart's got them into a spot now. I think they're going to continue to build, and I think they're going to have more than one shot at a national championship in the coming years. I don't know. Very interesting to see Clemson at the top of this. Such a really a huge lead on the other teams. They were at 67%. Alabama was second at 47%. So, it's great to see Clemson getting that recognition and that credit, Bradley. But it'll be very interesting to see how accurate these are at the end of the year, and if Notre Dame is in the playoffs.
I hope they're not accurate. Hopefully for Clemson State, it's very accurate. But in terms of that, I don't want to give Notre Dame fans any reason to start talking about that again.
All right, well, we got to take a quick break, though. When we come back, we will be talking about the quarterback situation down in Tuscaloosa. Stick with us.
Sunday dinner specials for just $7.99 with 9 entrees to choose from and 20 side items, plus the best fried chicken ever to cross your lips. The Chicken Basket on Highway 24 in Anderson. Call us at 226-3242.
Zero-Res is the answer to cleaning at its finest with no harsh chemicals. No residue, safe from toxins, and your carpet, upholstery, tile, and grout will stay cleaner longer. Spell it forwards or backwards, it's the right way to clean. ZeroResGreenville.com.
Hi friends, Mickey Plyler here. I want to encourage you to join us every weekday from 6 to 9 a.m. for the Mickey Plyler Show. We'll have tons of interviews. We'll talk Clemson, South Carolina, ACC, SEC. Take your phone calls and your tweets. It's the Mickey Plyler Show only on WCCP 105.5 The Roar.
Need to travel? Edwards Auto Sales in Walhalla has the area's best prices on new Ford trucks, cars, and SUVs. In business for over 50 years, shop Edwards Auto Sales for all your automotive needs.
Have you heard about the changes over at T. Ed Garrison Arena? They are now offering event space rentals for banquets, parties, fundraisers, weddings, and more in their air-conditioned 10,000 square foot newly renovated cattle sales complex. Also ask about their full-service RV sites for football tailgating. Convenient 9-minute drive to the stadium. Call 864-646-2717 today to pre-book. Space is limited and will sell out quickly. Go Tigers! This ad was funded by the City of Clemson Accommodations Tax.
I'm a donut nut, I'm a donut nut, I'm a nut for Krispy Kreme.
Hi, I'm Glenn Reese with Krispy Kreme Donut Company in Anderson and Spartanburg. We're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Drop by for a delicious donut and a cup of coffee. Pick up a box for your business or church meeting. Share them with family and friends during a time of need. Call Spartanburg and Anderson Krispy Kreme.
I'm a donut nut, I'm a donut nut, I'm a nut for Krispy Kreme.
It's Tiger Time. You know what I'm talking about. Tiger Time Magazine, the preseason collector's edition you have to know and trust for 17 years. It covers everything a Tiger fan will want to know about the upcoming season, including game day outlooks, player profiles, hot topics, the 2018 signing class, electrifying photos, and much more. Pick up your Tiger Time magazine entitled Clemson's Steel Curtain at Walmart, Bi-Lo, Barnes & Noble, Walgreens, 7-Eleven, Circle K, Dollar General, or visit tigertime.net to order online. Don't miss out.
Buying a mattress can be a difficult process, but that can all change with one visit to Engineered Sleep. They are a mattress manufacturer that opened their doors to the public. You get factory direct pricing, a mattress made just for you, and free delivery all over the upstate. Your mattress will be made and delivered within 1 to 5 days. It is always great to buy local, but when you buy from Engineered Sleep, you are truly buying from the best. Their showroom at 627 Congaree Road in Greenville is open Monday through Saturday. Sleep like a champion with your Engineered Sleep.
Did you know total knee replacement and total hip replacement surgery can be done as outpatient surgery, and you can literally walk and go home that same day? I'm Kathy Witham, and I'm one of the clinical directors at the Surgery Center at Pelham. We're now in our 3rd year of doing total joint replacements as outpatient surgery. Many people don't know this operation can be performed on an outpatient basis. If you're in need of a total knee replacement or a total hip replacement surgery, I would encourage you to give us a call. You will be directed to me, and we'll determine if you're qualified for this surgery. Here at the Surgery Center at Pelham, we have assembled a team of specially trained and highly skilled staff that provides you the convenience of having surgery performed safely outside the hospital setting. Learn more about us online at newkneereplacement.com. That's newkneereplacement.com.
Whether you're looking for a rewarding career in healthcare, business, public service, manufacturing, or HVAC, Tri-County Technical College can put you on the pathway to success quickly. With campuses in Pendleton, Anderson, Easley, and Oconee, Tri-County Tech has the school and the location to make learning easier. Check out their website, tctc.edu, and get the answers for enrollment, academics, and so much more. Affordable education with limitless possibilities at Tri-County Technical College.
The
The 105.5 The Roar annual NCAA College Football Kickoff Show is Thursday, August 16th at Twin Peaks on Woodruff Road in Greenville. The whole crew will be on hand to break down the 2018 college football season from 5 until 8 at Twin Peaks. Sponsored by Engineered Sleep.
Tune in Thursdays as Murdoch Superstores welcomes our weekly conversation with Daniel Shirley of the Athletic Atlanta. He'll bring us updates on the Bulldogs, the Yellow Jackets, and the Falcons. Thursdays with Daniel Shirley of the Athletic Atlanta. Brought to you by Murdoch Superstores in Livonia.
Out of bounds on 105.5 The Roar.
That was brilliant.
Now back to Floppy Kelly. And now back to Jay, Bradley, and Evan.
Welcome back. AFR is on your radio. Thanks for getting up with us this fine Saturday morning in Clemson. Kickoff is soon, Bradley. Just a few more weeks.
Less than that for the first official game. I think it was August 25th is when it kicks off. So it's even less than that. You get to watch that nice little bottom dwellers of the D1 duel out on a Wednesday night somewhere. I think it's in Australia, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow, that's a pretty cool. Well, I was watching some preseason NFL football. I had to get my football fix.
You watched that?
I did. I watched the Panthers. They played the Bills, and
I'm gonna be honest. I think I'd rather watch a repeat college game. That countdown they did on ESPNU, that freaking NFL.
The countdown is a great. The stuff that the program they put on ESPNU is
outside of having Tennessee and Florida on every other hour as the number 4 overall game of last year for two teams that couldn't even win 4 games combined.
I got to ask you, did you watch ESPN2 when it turned into the Ocho?
I did tune in for a little bit of that. Yeah, they did have.
I missed it. I was on vacation, but I saw the programming list. It looked pretty. It
was great. I'm trying to remember some of the
Dottie Potty. Have you seen the video of that where he's throwing?
I did. Yeah, the darts.
Yeah, the 9-dart leg.
Awesome.
It was the most lit dart throw I've ever seen. But it was pretty cool.
I know that. I think they had some chess on there. They had some sort of boxing.
They had like.
It was chess boxing, right?
No, it was chess. Yeah. It was chess boxing.
Yeah.
All right, well.
That's great. And then they replayed dodgeball that night, which I thought was great.
They play. All right, back to the college football talk now. We got to get into the Jalen Hurts, Alabama quarterback saga that is currently unfolding. And, it kind of started last Saturday. Jalen Hurts made some comments to the media. And he basically said, to summarize, I'm sure, everybody's pretty much read or seen the video and read the release of what he said. But it was basically, nobody came and talked to me. The coaches didn't really bring it up in the offseason. It was the quote-unquote elephant in the room.
It's been the elephant in the room all offseason pretty much.
He indicated, or he said, I think, that the narrative has already been written. I don't know if he's saying that, the media's already come up with what they want to talk about or how they want to discuss the issue, or if, it's already a closed book, done deal, we've moved on. Because I think, and we talked about this before we went on air, Tua's probably expected to start in Tuscaloosa. Tua has a better chance of starting in Tuscaloosa than Jalen does.
I think that is pretty well known, not only within the Alabama program, but probably across the country right now.
But on the flip
who
side,
everyone wants to start.
You've got a Clemson team where even though Trevor Lawrence is a freak of nature, I think the vast majority of people still expect Kelly to start the season. He may not start all 12 games, but they don't expect Trevor Lawrence to come in and take the job immediately.
No, I think Clemson's taking a more conservative approach to it. I almost think Bama's overreacting to that championship game from last year. I felt like once that clock hit 0 last year and Alabama ended up winning and you saw Tua raising the trophy, people kind of,
But Jalen Hurts handled that with great class. His interview post-game,
great job.
Props to him.
He was the first one on the field once Tua threw that pass.
Props to him.
Could not have handled it any better. I think
that's tough.
You could say a little bit opposite, though, of his comments from last week, that he could have handled that a little bit better. I don't think he meant any animosity.
I think it was just frustration, maybe. Maybe he felt like that the coaches should have at least mentioned it. I do think, though, let's be real. When you're going to a school like Alabama and you're playing for Nick Saban,
you don't tell him how to handle a quarterback situation.
It's not like you're going there and he's gonna, he's gonna sit down with you.
He's not gonna hold your hand. Exactly.
It's Nick Saban. So I think you have to consider that. I do understand where he's coming from. If that's the case, where none of the coaches discussed it, or it was just kind of like, we're not going to deal with this right now. We'll just figure it out later. Because based off of what Saban said, and it was kind of interesting really how it all played out, because Jalen made those comments on Saturday, and then we didn't hear anything.
Saban made his first comments at all
Wednesday at the press conference for Saban. And I I'm not sure, but I don't think the Alabama players have access to the media anymore.
I do not believe they do.
Yeah,
as of right now.
So I think the narrative's pretty much over there. But
I think he heard that and he said, "All right, we're done with that."
Did you hear though? Did you read what Saban said?
I was watching the Paul Feinbaum show when Saban actually went live and saw their initial reactions to it.
It was the most un-Nick Saban remarks I have ever heard. I mean, just close your eyes and imagine Nick Saban saying the following word: "Every player has a right to express what he feels and what he thinks. And I think he has every right to do that with every coach or anybody in the organization who he has relationships with, which we certainly do quite often with all players at all positions." It doesn't sound like it came from Nick Saban. I mean, I was expecting
coming from a high school coach.
I was expecting Saban to kind of blow up, be like, "We're not talking about this, we're moving on." But he was...
Or just like a Bill Belichick, next question.
Yeah, he was a little... So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a tender subject. Maybe he feels like...
I think Jalen handled it a lot better than Kelvin Benjamin handled his situation.
Yeah.
That is a given fact. I did think this comment, you read on what Saban said after that. He did say this is probably a lot more important to people outside this organization than it is people inside.
True.
And that's probably true with a lot of different narratives this offseason, especially this one in particular, where I think people within the program are letting the players make the decision and just letting it kind of unfold in practice rather than, we got to make a decision now. We got to let the people know now.
I mean, if you're Hurts, golly, you're a junior. You've gone 26-2 as a starter. I mean, you had one.
He's been to 2 national championships.
You had one bad half, and you got pulled out. Coach put in a true freshman who won the national championship for him. So I understand that he's got to be frustrated.
I would be livid. I mean, think about do you think if Tua didn't make that pass last year in the championship game to win, do you think this completely changes?
Oh, absolutely.
What's being said?
Yeah, if the game was not won, it wouldn't really be much of a debate. I mean,
yeah, he played well.
Maybe they'd
but
be like, oh, Tua has the opportunity maybe to possibly get some playing time this year.
Yeah, I think you'd see it a lot more like the Clemson situation now, for sure.
Yes,
yeah, I mean, listen to these stats and just imagine being in Jalen Hurts' mind here saying, all right, these are the stats I put up. You don't think I deserve the starting role for year 3? His freshman season, 63% completion, 2,700 yards, 23 touchdowns, 9 picks. I think any freshman at any school would take those numbers. After that, you want to talk about efficiency, 17 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's not even including all the rushing touchdowns that he had on top of that. The guy was Offensive Player of the Year in 2016 for Alabama, the year they went to the national championship. I mean, I know Tua is going to be good, but how much more do you really expect out of him? Jalen set the bar pretty high. I know his passing's a little bit inaccurate.
We've talked about how different coaches in the past, specifically Nick Saban, how different coaches have different expectations, I guess, for different positions. Like specifically thinking quarterback. Like when you look at a Nick Saban-led team, more often than not, the quarterback position is seen as a liability rather than an asset. So they treat the position as, okay, just limit the amount of mistakes on the field. Just manage the game, manage the situations that we'll create for you.
Which is funny, because if you ask me, I think Tua's got way higher of a chance to make a mistake than Jalen would.
Exactly. That's what's interesting about this situation. Tua's probably more explosive and can make bigger plays, but based off everything you've seen in the past with Nick Saban, he opts more often than not for not a conservative player, but just one that isn't always as explosive, but is very smart and manages the game well.
He's exactly. You hit it right at the nail on the head there. He's able to manage the game well and does his job, and that's exactly what they expect out of a quarterback.
And we don't really know if Tua can do that. We've seen 30 minutes of play.
30 minutes of this guy play. Have you seen him be able to go on the road and handle a hostile environment for an entire game? No. You've seen him play one game. Jalen had already started that game. I know he didn't play that well first half. Kind of relied on the defense. He was sacked the second to last play of the game before he made that miraculous throw. So, yeah, I think if he doesn't make that pass, I think this narrative's completely different.
Oh, I would 100%. No, if Alabama had lost that championship game, this wouldn't even be a discussion. I think, though, Saban did say in his press conference that the comments didn't affect the team.
I don't know if I believe that entirely. I think that's more of a let's move on.
I do agree, though.
This is what's happening.
It's probably a bigger deal outside of the organization than it is inside the organization. I think in some ways this situation at Alabama, because of them winning the national championship game last year with a true freshman quarterback, is a bit messier than the Clemson quarterback situation. I don't think that there's any drama, at least on the surface, in the Clemson locker room about quarterback. I think everybody agrees Trevor Lawrence is a standout player. He's an amazing guy, and one day he will take over the reins. But Kelly Bryant is a proven leader, proven winner. He was asked at media availability the other day after practice. I think, somebody posed a question about everybody focusing on Trevor, and then Kelly's response was,
"Hey, I'm still here."
He was like, "Hey, I'm just thinking about Kelly." So he's still, and that's tough when you know that you have a guy coming for your job, and in a lot of ways he's as good, if not better than you. Puts a lot of pressure on you.
And I think in terms of that, Jalen's handled it about as well as you can. You're not overreacting, sticking with the program.
If no one talked to him, then I understand his comments last Saturday.
Exactly. But does anyone have to talk to him? Because this is his job. I mean, if he wants it, go out and prove it in practice. You don't need someone that's holding.
He's 26-2 as a starter.
You don't need someone holding your hand saying, "Hey, Jalen, how you feeling about this quarterback situation? Like, what you thinking, man?" Because you know how he feels. They don't need to ask him that.
Yeah.
They know he's feeling pressure. They know he's talked to other schools. He's probably thought about the possibility of maybe transferring. With this whole thing that's kind of unfolded. Because, like I said, since the beginning or the end of the game last year, the narrative's kind of been Tua is going to be the starter, and that's set in stone.
Do you think that? I mean, realistically, because I think Hurts will start, because I think that's the only way to keep him in Alabama. I think if Tua gets the starting role as a true freshman, a guy that's only played 30 minutes in the national championship game, did get the win there, but if he gets the nod over a guy in Hurts that threw one interception last year, has gone 26-2 as a starter. If I'm Hurts, I can go play somewhere else.
You could. I would be very tempted to, especially if he starts game one, because if this is different because Nick Saban brought him in the championship game last year. If he had brought Tua in midway through the year and this had kind of been a back and forth battle throughout the season, then it's probably a little different. But the fact that Saban, had the stones to do that in the championship means he's absolutely willing to do it game one of this season.
Well, and we talked about this after that game. If they hadn't done that quarterback switch, Alabama would have lost.
That would have been back-to-back championship losses for Alabama, for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was no...
Which is still pretty darn good for a quarterback.
There was no game plan for Tua. When Tua came in, Georgia freaked, and they didn't really know how to respond.
Because they didn't prepare for that.
No, they didn't expect that at all.
They had zero expectations for that to happen, especially from a Nick Saban coached team.
Do you think there's a chance when they play Louisville in the opener that both quarterbacks get some playing time?
I think so. I think because of their opponent. I think Louisville, if it was last year, it might be a different story. I think it'd be a lot closer of a game. But I think this year, Alabama's probably expecting to come in and be up 3 scores at halftime. And bring in someone else at halftime. I mean, it might be no different than our Furman game. It could be completely the same story.
Who knows? I did get a text in from the 864 saying that the Bama quarterback situation is kind of like the Eagles.
Yeah, a little bit, actually. That's a great point.
Interesting comparison.
Yeah, Nick Foles and Tua are neck and neck with that. And, Foles he's sitting pretty because he can go anywhere he wants. He'll make his money somewhere. Yeah. He's got his ring.
Oh, he's going to make money.
He will for sure. And you could see it. I mean, if he doesn't play at all this year, you could see him, I don't know. You could see them move him, or you could see him, get mad enough to where they say, all right, we're going to let you go to a different team.
Yeah, still a little bit more excited for college football than NFL.
A little bit.
I love my Panthers, but, Clemson Tiger through and through.
Yeah,
so, but it is interesting looking at Alabama's schedule. Besides that Louisville game, Arkansas State's going to be a breeze. Both quarterbacks going to get playing time in that. The whole roster should get playing time in that game.
Yeah, I think by the conference schedule, though, for both Clemson and Alabama, we'll talk about Florida State next segment. I think the quarterback has to be decided. And Saban has done that in the past. He's decided early on rather than later who his quarterback is going to be.
So who are you picking for quarterback starting Alabama?
I think Jalen Hurts should start. I think
should or will?
I think he absolutely should. What I think will happen, I think Tua ends up coming in by about game 3. I think he takes over.
Oh, I mean, that could happen. I'm talking like opening game of the season. Who starts the begin? I'm picking Hurts because I think that's the only way that you would keep him there.
I think they're going to go Hurts. Yeah. I think they'll go Hurts too.
Okay, keep Hurts in there until, I don't know, the game's either out of hand or he makes a mistake, although you look at his history, he hasn't made that many mistakes.
I think in terms of Saban's stance, it's a lot easier to explain starting Jalen Hurts than would be Tua because you've had a lot more security with Jalen Hurts over the years, and you keep him there. That's another thing. You keep him in the program.
Still, though, I think, closing remarks, because we do need to wrap up and hit a break, I think that Clemson's quarterback situation right now is being handled a little bit better than...
People definitely feel better about it.
Yeah, down in Alabama. Yeah. And again, a lot of variables, still have games to be played, and we know that there are games early on in the season where all the quarterbacks on the rosters of both teams are going to get playing time. It's not just going to be spring ball. I mean, we're going to see these guys.
Oh, if you're the 4th string, get ready. You're coming in. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I do think, though, in both situations, the seniority in Kelly and Jalen and the success that they've had will get them the starting nod. Maybe not. They may not keep it the whole year.
For at least 2 weeks. I give it that.
Wow.
Week 3, week 4, they're both deciding at that point.
Man.
I think Dabo and Saban in that aspect are both very similar.
Bold. Well, they're similar in some ways, different in a lot of ways.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Mutual respect, though. Definitely mutual respect between the programs. Well, I don't know. Interesting discussion. We'll see what happens and let you know.
Couple weeks. We'll figure it out very shortly.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we got to hit another quick break. When we come back, we got a little countdown game coming up. Stick around.
The countdown is on. 21 days till Clemson football.
Ryan goes shotgun. Feaster off to his right-hand side. Right side of the field, right. Take a shotgun snap, give it a Feaster up the middle. Falls into the end zone. Touchdown.
On the flagship station for Clemson Athletics, we are WCCP 105.5. The Roar.
Hey, Clemson fans. 2018 Clemson women's basketball season ticket packages are now on sale. Join new head coach Amanda Butler in her first year at the helm. Tickets are only $60 or add them on to your men's basketball season tickets for just $20. To order, visit ClemsonTigers.com or call 1-800-CLEMSON and we'll see you in Little John Coliseum.
What if there was a paint that made you look at paint differently? One that completely rewrote paint's genetic code, so it can strengthen any color. What if it's built with better ingredients, even given superpowers? Since Benjamin Moore reinvented the way paint is made, it makes you wonder, is it still paint? Benjamin Moore, paint like no other.
The Carter Color Company, 1067 Tiger Boulevard, Clemson, your independent local Benjamin Moore paint retailer.
Buying a mattress can be a difficult process, but that can all change with one visit to Engineered Sleep. They are a mattress manufacturer that opened their doors to the public. You get factory direct pricing, a mattress made just for you, and free delivery all over the upstate. Your mattress will be made and delivered within 1 to 5 days. It is always great to buy local, but when you buy from Engineered Sleep, you are truly buying from the best. Their showroom at 627 Congaree Road in Greenville is open Monday through Saturday. Sleep like a champion with your Engineered Sleep.
Load it, haul it, dump it, mow it. Get equipped for anything with a John Deere 3025E compact tractor from Ag Pro. It's equipped with a low price of $139 per month, and we have all the attachments you'll ever need. Request a quote at agproco.com. Offer ends October 26, 2018. Subject to approved installment credit with John Deere Financial. 20% down payment required. Taxes, freight, setup, and delivery charges could increase monthly payment. See dealer for details.
Love driving again and enjoy no payments for up to 90 days at State Credit Union. And with rates as low as 1.99% APR on new cars, now is the perfect time to buy. Plus, applying for your new car loan is fast and easy. Call, click, or stop by any of the 20 statewide branches of State Credit Union today. Learn more online at scscu.com. That's scscu.com. State Credit Union, taking members where they want to go. Certain terms and conditions apply. Rates, conditions, and programs are subject to change without notice. Equal housing lender, federally insured by the...
Hey guys, if she wanted an engagement truck, you'd be all over it. Or a shotgun, or a Yeti cooler. But a diamond? Why in the world does it need to be a diamond? What does it do for anyone? Well, for her...
Hi, I'm Evan, Vice President of the Health There, proud husband and father of 3. I work for a lot of heavy hitters in the health and wellness industry, and I'll admit I was skeptical when I heard about the Health There's 90-day cellular health program. I've seen a lot of things come and go that claim to get fast results, but after a few days with the clients and staff, I called my wife in shock. I told her I've never seen anything like this. Clients are getting off their medications and reversing symptoms of type 2 diabetes, IBS, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and even sleep apnea in just a few weeks. I couldn't believe it. Since that day, I have a reignited passion about a program that actually works. But don't take my word for it. I was skeptical, and you probably are too. Come on in for your free consultation, and I'll let my staff show you how to reverse your symptoms the easy way. And if we can't help you, I'll give you your money back. Call now, and I'll give you a free consultation with a health coach. My coaches are standing by to talk to you right now. Call 1-877-I-DARE-ME. That's 1-877-I-DARE-ME, or go to idaregreenville.com.
It's Out of Bounds on 105.5 The Roar.
Can we just bring it down a notch?
Now, back to Kwok and Kelly. And now, back to After Further Review.
Welcome back to AFR. Got one final segment for you this Saturday morning. Bradley and myself got a little countdown buy or sell game coming up for you. So I'll let Bradley explain this one, and then we'll go ahead and get it underway.
Y'all have seen Around the Horn before. We're just borrowing this idea. We're not stealing it. It's a little bit of agree or disagree, but we're going to call it buy or sell.
Does that mean I can mute you if you say something?
Oh, no, you're not freezing me. I don't care that you have the power over there. That does not happen. I'd love to see you speak by yourself for the next 15 minutes.
I just want to see the little point clicker go down. I just want to start you at -10.
God, if we could get, what's his face? What's the guy's name? The really popular older guy on there.
Bill Plaschke,
No,
Tim
the other guy.
Calishaw. Woody Page.
Woody Page, that's it.
Woody
Yeah, that's
Page.
what
What a legend.
Woody Hayes, but of course, that's not him.
Nope.
So, yeah, I got a list of about 10 to 12 different things that could or could not happen this season. And I want to let Jay and I kind of go back and forth here whether we buy or sell these statements. So, first one, we got Boise State. Could the Broncos go undefeated this year? And if so, would they make the playoff? Do you buy or sell that?
Both? Or just one or the other?
Well, all right, we'll start with the first one. Can Boise State run the table this year?
No. So I'm selling that. I don't think they get through at Troy.
You didn't even think they're going to survive week 1.
Well, listen, you look at Troy, and then week 3, you got at Oklahoma State. They're going to draw. I mean, those are 2 road games, tough road games at Oklahoma State. It'll be a loud environment.
Now, John's willing to say that they had a better chance to lose the Troy game, right? Than lose the Oklahoma State game, which, come on, that's a Power 5 school on the road.
I just don't think that they get through both.
I don't know how intimidating the Troy Trojans crowd back there is down in Alabama. We'll see, though.
Well, I like I said, they have a chance to win 8, 9, maybe 10 games. I don't maybe.
College Football News had them at 10. I believe. But
they're not going to make a playoff.
If they go undefeated, I don't think they will.
UCF didn't make a play. Now, they may pull a UCF, go 12-0, not going to happen. Win a bowl game and then proclaim themselves the national champions.
You can play the national championship in the Fiesta Bowl if you want to do that. But
I don't think they're making a Big Six. You think?
Well, if they go undefeated, they'll make a Big Six because every Group of 5 winner, whoever the top Group of 5 team is, makes the New Year's Six every single year. That's always been the case. But yeah, I think if any team's going to do it this year, I think Boise State's got a great chance. They got Brett Ripien coming back, one of the best names in football. He's been there for about 9 years now, coming back for his senior season this year. And Boise State's kind of been a little disappointing the last few years since Chris Peterson left. It's been San Diego State's conference in the Mountain West for the last 3-something years. But yeah, I think they'll beat Troy. I think that'll be a close game. It'll be interesting.
You think they're getting by at Oklahoma State?
I think they could beat it. Oklahoma State, no defense, no quarterback right now. I don't care.
But it's a road game.
So Boise State's had plenty of experience playing on the road.
I don't know. I mean, I think maybe it could be a close game. Maybe it goes into the fourth quarter.
If they get past those teams, they'll find a way to trip up against like Fresno State or San Diego State.
I'm about to say, yeah, it's probably going to be they'll show up for the big games that matter, and then they'll get to Air Force.
Don't sleep on Air Force, man. The Falcons got a great passing offense. All right. Don't sleep on them.
Not high on the Air Force Falcons.
Air Force Falcons.
Air Force Falcons.
What a name.
All right, next buy or sell.
Number 2 is Miami, Clemson's biggest challenger in the ACC this season.
For a conference championship?
For the conference championship. I would be willing to sell that. I think Florida State is going to have a lot better year than people think they are. I mean, it is in the division. We have
Florida
to play
State's coming for Clemson.
On the road at Florida State this year.
It'll take a couple of years. But I think Taggart is going to get Florida State to a great level.
Francois back.
And I don't think it's going to happen this year. I don't. But I think that there's a chance for Florida State, and then in the next coming years, when Trevor Lawrence begins to take over Clemson, to start contending again for a division and a conference championship.
I think Miami's probably got the best chance to contend because obviously they'll probably end up winning that side of the conference and end up playing them.
I mean, the only other team in that division, maybe Virginia Tech
and Georgia Tech. I think the Yellow Jackets could be a sleeper team. I had them going 8-4, so I think they lost by 1 to Miami last year. You give them the edge this year at home, it could be a different story.
Honestly, I think if Clemson gets the ACC championship game, it will be easier than some of the conference games they'll have played up till that point, because you have their opener for conference play is at Georgia Tech. That's always a tricky environment. It's not easy.
Not lately, but yeah, you're right. And historically, it has
going
been
down to Bobby
very
Dodd.
tough.
It's not a good thing. NC State at home will be a tough game.
A doozy.
It'll be a tough game.
Florida State on the road, as we mentioned.
Yeah, Florida State. You at BC. It's a long way to travel.
But between the ACC contenders here, do you think Miami's the biggest chance to knock Clemson off the top of the mountain?
I think the team that has the best chance of knocking Clemson out of ACC title contention or winning a conference championship is Clemson.
Really?
The only team that can beat Clemson is Clemson.
Yeah.
If Clemson decides or doesn't show up to a game, Syracuse, Pitt, NC State, then they're going to lose and if they lose one, they may be okay. And they may be able to get through the division, get to the conference championship. But the only team right now in this conference that can beat Clemson is Clemson.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't think any team,
so I'm selling
Miami, Florida, I don't think any of them will contend. But if you had to put money on a team, I'd probably say Florida State over Miami because I'm just not high on the Canes.
You're not high on the Canes.
Not high on the Canes after last year. I think it was kind of a fluke. So number 3, I thought this was kind of interesting. I talked to a buddy of mine, and I was really low on Michigan, as I've mentioned the last couple weeks, and he told me, hold on a minute, give Harbaugh one more year. This is year 3. He's got his recruiting class, finally his upperclassmen. Do you think Jim Harbaugh is the coach of Michigan after the next 2 years?
Yes, I think he is. I think for whatever reason, for better or for worse, there's still a lot of patience for him right now up in Ann Arbor.
I think in terms of how much money he brings in, that's why there's patience.
That is a factor. I think that, he really needs to start doing better against rivals. I think it was last week that we talked about his record against.
It's like 1-7.
Yeah, it's not. And he's a couple plays away from a few more wins. But again, he lost.
So are a lot of teams, though.
He lost those games. So he's in a tough. I mean, Michigan State, you got Ohio State, you got Penn State right in your division.
He could not have come around at a worse time.
So winning your division right now is a pretty admirable achievement.
But it hasn't been done yet. I think if he does not win the division in the next 2 years, even if he doesn't get Ohio State in the next 2 years, I think he's out.
No, if they average 8 and 9 wins, I think.
You think Michigan's going to be okay with 8 wins for 2 more years? No. If he wins 8 games,
if he goes 9-3 the next 2 years, wins the bowl games, and he's got 2 10-win seasons, they're not going to fire him. They're not going to fire him.
He'll be on the hot seat going into year 3. Absolutely. You give him his whole recruiting 6 years. I don't care how much money he's bringing in. This is Michigan, the University of Michigan football. They should be contending for the Big Ten championship every single year.
When we previewed the SEC, we talked about how long does Jimbo have, and I think it was either Evan or you said Jimbo has, I believe it was Evan, he said you have 4 years after Nick Saban stops coaching to get to a conference championship. Not win, but get to a conference championship. So that seems to be a lot more.
Get to a conference championship, Jim Harbaugh.
Lot more patience for.
How about this? How about if Urban Meyer gets fired?
That's a factor.
Then if you don't get there,
I don't think Ohio State is really going to skip a beat. I mean, they may have a year or two where they're kind of like hanging in the middle of the pack, but let's be realistic. Ohio State's not going to drop off.
All right, so he's staying around. I think I'm a little bit opposite of that. I think if he doesn't go.
If they maintain what they've been doing, even though it hasn't been outstanding, yeah, they'll keep him around.
I don't know.
Maybe his seat gets warm.
That's a long leash today, at least.
I mean,
number 4. We'll move on from Harbaugh because we could talk about him for hours.
Yeah.
Jake Venables just came in. He's a freshman now. Brent Venables' son for the Clemson Tigers. Do you think by the time he graduates, and he's also got a kid, I believe that's a junior in high school right now, do you think by the time both of those kids graduate, do you think Brent Venables will be a head coach before then?
No. I think his 5-year, $11.6 million extension, even though it's my understanding that's on a year-to-year basis.
It is. The first 2 years he gets $200K, I believe, extra, and then after that, I think it's $400.
So there's like a bonus for hanging around. I think that he likes Clemson. as with most coaches, their families here, their kids go to school here.
He's putting rings on his fingers and dinner on his table.
He's got a kid enrolled here. I think he's happy to be a defensive coordinator, the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country.
Coordinator, period.
Yeah. So, I would be shocked if he did, although I do, remember, hearing and talking about when Chad Morris left Clemson, there was a lot of panic, and they were like, why would he leave? He's going to SMU, and obviously that didn't really pan out for him. And
I think we could see Tony Elliott or Jeff Scott probably leave before Venables. I don't
see Jeff Scott leading because his dad, I believe, coached here as well.
But if you had to pick one, I would probably pick one of them to leave before Venables. I don't think Venables is leaving, man.
No, I don't think he is either.
We talked last year. We talked about Kansas State being a potential destination for him, and they just signed Snyder up for 5 more years.
He's making $2 million.
That's insane for
annually for a coordinator. That's as much as some head coaches are making. And why would you leave?
And that says a lot. The fact that Clemson, since Dabo started picking this program up, has been able to keep all their coordinators year in and year out. You don't see many programs that have that. Exactly.
Continuity.
He is keeping them happy. Making them successful. They have zero reason to leave at this point.
I mean, yeah, if your family is here and they like the atmosphere, again, Clemson's more of a family-centered program, I feel like there's no point. I mean, he's got kids here who are enrolled in the program.
That the family aspect.
He'll be here for a while.
Number 5, will Clemson start running the score up this year on teams to secure a playoff bid?
I want to say yes.
They haven't done it recently.
And
we've been begging them, just destroy Syracuse, please.
we get to halftime,
and
then all of a sudden, you just take the foot off the gas, and you're like, Clemson.
It's like watching the Panthers, man. They just get conservative.
What are you doing? It could happen when you look at their schedule, who they're playing. I think they have opportunities to do that in a lot of games. Syracuse, Wake Forest, maybe Louisville, maybe BC, Duke.
I think if we lose a game early on, we'll be a lot more tempted to. If we don't, I don't think Dabo sees a reason.
I disagree with that. I think that Clemson feels like that for the first time, maybe ever, while Dabo's been here, they're in the driver's seat for not only a playoff berth, but a championship run. They feel like they probably have, the best hand sitting at the table. So if I'm them...
So that would give them a reason to run the table?
No.
Or to run the score?
That gives them a reason to not worry as much about how good they look. Because let's be honest, we all know how good they are.
But it matters, though. It matters a lot, especially late in the season.
But not to this Clemson team.
The committee, though, it means a lot.
Well, yeah, but 3 years ago, I would agree. I'd say, yeah, they're going to run up, or they're going to try to make them look as flashy as possible.
You're talking about Baylor, aren't you?
But listen, if they go 12-0, 11-1 regular season, win the conference championship, they're in. It's no discussion around it, and everyone right now is, as we just saw, we talked about at the top of the show, ESPN. It's the consensus team right now to make a championship.
All right, number 6, we got T. Higgins here. I'll give you a list of our last 5 top receivers and how many yards that they had. We had 2013, we had Sammy Watkins, had 1464. 2014, Mike Williams had 1030. 2015, Artavis Scott only had 901. You had Mike Williams the year after with 1361. And then Deion Kane last year was our leading receiver with 734 yards. Do you think T. Higgins will eclipse the 1,000-yard mark this season?
I think he could. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to.
I don't think he will. I think he's talented, but I think there's so many wide receivers that we have.
A slew of wide receivers.
And I think the only chance he has at it is if Trevor plays the majority of the season, because he's the one that can air it out. We
saw Trevor to T a lot in the spring game.
And you didn't see that with Kelly.
To be a combination.
Didn't throw the ball down the field
Kelly,
too often.
He spread the ball around a little bit more, didn't have as many deep passes. Yes, T potentially has, he certainly could get 1,000 yards. He has the talent to absolutely get 1,000 yards. I think he will. Maybe he'll be around the 1,100 mark or something. I think, though, as long as you're sharing the ball, you're getting it out to other guys, you're using the run game, keeping teams guessing, there's really nothing wrong. Do you think he's going to get it? You said no?
I don't think he will. I think he's going to come up just a bit short, just based on how many wide receivers we had. And Justin Ross apparently is playing really well, too, as John mentioned before. So you could factor in even him, too. So,
all right, we got 1 minute left.
One more. Clemson fans should worry about the Week 2 trip to A&M. I ain't worried a bit. Not at all. I'm not worried at all about Week 2. No. I think we got this one in the bag. This game's pretty much already set in stone, man. I'm just going to have a good time to tailgate. I ain't worried.
Listen, man, you better knock on wood, or you're going to be opening that mouth in 2 weeks. You're going to be inserting that foot. All I got to say, you got to take every team serious, and it's what Dabo said the last few years. You can't be 12-0 until you're 2-0. You can't be 12-0 until you're 5-0. You got to take it a game at a time. So right now,
it's Jimbo's second game, man.
Right now,
A&M was 8-4. We're fine.
every game's important.
I'm probably way too cocky right now about our chances.
Yeah. It's going to come back to bite you. Hopefully not, though. All right, well, hey, out of time. Been a lot of fun bringing you this edition of After Further Review. Old school AFR style, as Bradley said. Appreciate all the help that John does, all the work he does in the back for us.
Thanks
Bradley.
for our silent guest, Cole Smith, over there.
Yeah, for Bradley and myself, we'll see you next time.
Safely in the Priority One Studios. We are WCCP, Clemson Greenville. 105.5, The Roar.